The McConnell Foundation acquired the Gore Ranch property in 1993. Leah McConnell purchased it. It was one of many properties that she owned at the time that she started the foundation. It's 1,900 acres. It's right on the border of the city of Reading, so it's in that wildland urban interface zone. In 2023, we put it in a conservation easement with Shasta Land Trust. So at this point, it won't be developed. It will stay in agriculture and in conservation into perpetuity.
Not only did we want to prevent expansion of buildings out into fire-prone landscapes, we wanted to come up with processes to protect the communities behind these open spaces.
So fuels management is really important there, and the conservation easement allows us to bring in a suite of activities that will make that a safe place.
The VMP program is the Vegetation Management Project Program. Those are projects that we partner with the landowner, like the McConnell Foundation, and we go in and look at their piece of property that they want to do fuel reduction work on. CAL FIRE and the McConnell Foundation will go in and come up with a plan to get that work done, so that at the end of the day the land looks like they want, and then we get what we want, and that's the fuel reduction.
This project, being where it is, was essential. We're looking at dropping those fuels around homes in those communities, and when we reduce those fuel loads in the case of a fire, a wildfire, we have, as CAL FIRE, a better chance to defend those communities. Lower fuels, lighter fuels, they're easier to contain, control fire on.
So we received CEQA clearance to begin the process. That's the California Environmental Quality Act. And then CAL FIRE's crews were ready to go in March. The soil was dry enough, and they got out there with equipment and hand crews, and we're doing pile burning around the perimeter to basically secure the perimeter of the burn units and ensure that if the fire moved in a way they weren't expecting, that it would still be a safe operation. Our crew, we had 2 people out there 5 days a week for about 14 weeks, contributing to that cause, working together side by side with CAL FIRE.
The Gore Ranch is a 10-year project. We had a plan to burn 900 acres this year. We were able to implement 590 acres burnt on those 3-day period. It was successful in that realm. We met both the landowners' objectives on improving range, reducing fuels, the state's objectives of reducing fuels next to communities. It was a win-win for both cooperators.
So when a fire does occur at Gore Ranch in the future, an unplanned fire, the likelihood of it being severe fire after the prescribed fire operations is low. And with CAL FIRE having access to that property and familiarity with that property, the risk then goes way down, both with low intensity fire and access and familiarity with CAL FIRE.
We've already seen the benefits of that. This summer, when we broke all the records for the hottest day in Reading, we had a 6-acre vegetation fire that was a wildfire under extreme worst-case conditions that burned immediately adjacent to it. There was ash fallout that would have started a fire because the humidity was down under 5%. That fire alone would have probably burned 300 to 400 acres, and we would have evacuated a lot of people, probably more than we evacuated during the lower fire. We have to work towards trying to make a fire resilient community, and one of the ways to do that is to go in and start doing prescribed fire close to the city of Reading, close to the heavily populated areas, because that's where we're going to get the most benefit for the general public.
It's increasingly understood that if you burn the fuels with a prescribed burn under your terms, you preempt the later wildfire that could burn under conditions you can't control. And so with that knowledge, I think there's an increased acceptance of burning, like even close to homes. And we do know that it's the fuels right around homes are the most important to remove or to control in terms of like keeping your house safe from a wildfire.
Prescribed burn is low intensity fire set by us on purpose. Even though it was 100 degrees, the brush was still green. There was a ton of moisture in there. And so it's pretty easy for us to go in there, even if it is 100 degrees, the only thing that's really gonna burn is the grass and the dead material. So the live trees, they fared quite well on the Gore VMP.
A lot of the plants and animals in our ecosystems are well adapted to fire. They had to be because they lived in a landscape that had frequent fire. Fire recycles the nutrients from that fuel, replenishes the nutrients for the plants, and it really just kind of resets the vegetation. We have a fire-dependent ecosystem.
That's what's beautiful about fire, because what is put to rest will come alive again. Through that, if it's used correctly, it'll bring everything back to life. And all of those plants and stuff are part of keeping things in balance, because that was food for a certain animal or a certain thing. And fire is nothing to fear. It's a necessary part of life.
Safe fire and beneficial fire is really the only way that we're going to get out of this catastrophic wildfire crisis that has now ballooned into affecting multiple communities, large geographical areas, bled over into the insurance crisis, and et cetera. And practically everyone in Northern California is hugely affected by the wildfire crisis today.
Everything will get back in balance as long as we all work together for the good of the human race. It is necessary, and we need the world to get back in balance.